The shocking mid-air collision that changed aviation history. The history of aviation has been significantly impacted by mid-air collisions, which have led to important modifications in safety procedures and laws. These terrible incidents, which frequently result in a large death toll, have brought attention to the weaknesses in communication and air traffic control systems. Every incident, from the devastating Grand Canyon crash in 1956 to the Tenerife airport tragedy, acted as a spur for change and ultimately shaped the contemporary aviation environment that exists today. Here are 7 key points that illustrate the shocking nature and consequences of these pivotal events in aviation history. Number 7. Date and location. On June 30th, 1956, a devastating mid-air collision took place over the Grand Canyon, one of the most famous natural wonders in the United States and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Colorado River sculpted this enormous canyon, which is over 277 miles long and descends more than a mile below the surface. In addition to being a well-liked tourist destination at the time of the tragedy, the Grand Canyon was also an important air traffic route for commercial airlines that operated transcontinental trips. The majority of the airspace above the canyon was uncontrolled, which means that no active air traffic control services were in place to regulate aircraft movements there. Pilots had to negotiate crowded flight paths without help in this complicated environment due to a lack of oversight. In an era when air travel was quickly expanding but safety procedures had not yet changed to meet the increased needs, the tragic intersection of United Airlines Flight 718 and Trans World Airlines Flight 2 in this uncontrolled airspace highlights the difficulties faced by aviators. Number 6. Aircraft involved. A United Airlines Douglas DC-7 and a Trans World Airlines Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation, 2 aircraft representative of commercial aviation in the middle of the 20th century, were involved in this terrible incident. One of the fastest piston-engine airliners of its era, the Douglas DC-7 was first introduced in 1953 and was renowned for its ability to travel great distances at high speeds of up to 350 knots. It had sophisticated aerodynamics for better performance and fuel economy, and it could carry up to 100 passengers. On the other hand, the Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation was praised for its creative design, which included a unique triple tail arrangement that improved flying stability. It was a favorite among airlines for transcontinental flights since it could accommodate about 70 passengers in an opulent cabin. TWA Flight 2 was traveling to Kansas City, and United Airlines Flight 718 was traveling to Chicago. Both aircraft were operating at cruising altitudes common for long-haul flights. The operational difficulties that airlines encountered at this time are exemplified by the pairing of these 2 potent aircraft operating concurrently in the same airspace. Number 5. Collision details. Both airplanes were traveling at about 21,000 feet above sea level when they collided shortly after takeoff. Around 10:30 a.m., TWA Flight 2's Constellation's vertical stabilizer was impacted by the left wing of United Airlines Flight 718 while it was making a right turn per its flight plan. TWA Flight 2 lost control instantly as a result of this devastating accident, and its tail portion broke off entirely. As both planes broke apart in midair, witnesses on the ground saw debris raining down from the sky. Others said they heard a huge explosion, followed by a cloud of smoke and wreckage that fell into the canyon below. While TWA's Constellation crashed straight into the canyon at an estimated speed of over 700 feet per second, causing complete destruction upon contact, the United DC-7 was able to stay in the air for a brief period of time before colliding with the canyon floor. According to the aftermath, all 128 people on board both planes' passengers and crew were killed in this terrible tragedy, which at the time was one of the deadliest aviation catastrophes in history. The nation was shocked by the catastrophe, which brought up serious concerns about airline safety procedures. Number 4. Lack of air traffic control. In many places, especially over isolated areas like the Grand Canyon, air traffic control systems were severely antiquated at the time of the incident and lacked contemporary equipment like radar coverage. Because the area where this accident happened was designated as uncontrolled airspace, pilots had to keep a visual distance from other aircraft on their own without the aid of ground-based radar systems or air traffic controllers. Pilots had to rely on their own visual observations to avoid other planes while navigating intricate flight paths that frequently crossed over one another at similar altitudes, creating a disaster-prone environment. Unfortunately, because of their different heights and flight paths colliding without any prior notice or communication from air traffic control, the two flight crews were unable to see one another until it was too late. This tragedy made clear the serious flaws in safety procedures and the urgent need for better air traffic control systems in order to stop tragedies like this one in the future. Number 3. Immediate consequences. Both the aviation industry and society at large experienced shockwaves in the immediate aftermath of the Grand Canyon Midair crash. As the first commercial aircraft catastrophe to claim over 100 lives, it was a somber milestone that sparked widespread media attention and public indignation over airline safety procedures. Victims' families were crushed by their losses, and many of them wanted to know how a tragedy like this could happen in what was meant to be a safe form of transportation. The event exposed serious flaws in the safety procedures already in place in commercial aviation operations and spurred demands for responsibility from both airlines and regulatory agencies. The public's attitude drastically changed, emphasizing that passenger safety must come first and calling for stronger safety regulations and improved training for both pilots and air traffic controllers. In the end, this uproar resulted in major modifications to the legal frameworks controlling commercial flying. Number 2. Regulatory changes. Significant legislative changes were implemented in the aviation sector in response to this terrible incident with the goal of raising safety standards and advancing air traffic control procedures nationwide. The Federal Aviation Administration, which was established in 1958 with the goal of modernizing air traffic control systems across the country while guaranteeing adherence to safety requirements established by Congress, was one of the most noteworthy results. In order to improve situational awareness for air traffic controllers overseeing crowded skies full of commercial flights, the FAA concentrated on deploying cutting-edge radar technology that enabled real-time tracking of aircraft positions and movements. New rules pertaining to flight separation procedures were also passed. Airlines were now expected to follow more stringent rules on altitude assignments and the distances between aircraft when flying. These modifications addressed significant deficiencies found during investigations into prior incidents and marked a fundamental shift towards emphasizing safety in commercial flight. Number 1. Lasting impact. Beyond its immediate aftermath, the Grand Canyon Midair crash left a lasting legacy that changed aviation safety standards globally and established new criteria for regulatory control in the commercial aviation industry. The event led to important developments in radar and communication systems that are now commonplace in air traffic control operations worldwide. These developments have greatly enhanced situational awareness for both pilots and controllers and decreased the risks associated with congested skies full of commercial aircraft operating at different altitudes at the same time. Improved training programs for pilots and air traffic controllers became essential to maintaining safety in today's congested skies. These programs concentrated on risk management techniques and emergency response plans created especially for high-stress scenarios that arise during flight operations or possible crises that arise while traveling or landing at airports in various parts of the world. The commercial airline industry is now much safer than it was in 1956, thanks to these reforms and continuous assessments aimed at enhancing aviation regulations. Millions of people travel by air every year, and the public's trust in airline safety measures is increased at all stages of their journeys. These changes have made commercial aviation safer than it has ever been, demonstrating a dedication to putting passenger safety first and averting future tragedies of this nature. If you liked our video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel.